It's 2004, somewhere in the remote mountains of northern Shanxi province, China. The bitter wind cuts through the landscape, and in a simple brick church, a crowd is gathered in prayer. A Chinese woman kneels, arms outstretched, clutching rosary beads in one hand, her face illuminated by the soft light inside the church. In front of her, completely still, kneels Yang Yankang. His camera is ready, but he's not taking the picture yet. He's waiting. Not for the perfect light or ideal composition, but to understand something deeper about why this woman, in one of China's remote corners, has chosen to believe. This moment would become part of a 20-year obsession that made Yang the only Chinese photographer to win the prestigious Nunnan Prize twice. But what drives someone to spend decades from the far northern reaches of China to the western mountains of Tibet, photographing other people's faith? Yang Yankang was born in 1954 in Anshun, Guizhou province, and he didn't touch a camera until he was 31. In 1984 he joined the distribution team for In Photo magazine in Shenzhen, learning photography through reading, looking at published photographs and talking to senior photographers, until he picked up a camera himself in 1985. Many great photographers start quite young, driven by an early artistic vision. However, Yang was already an adult when he finally found his calling. But maybe starting late was exactly what he needed. By then he'd lived enough to know that the most interesting questions don't have easy answers. In the late 1980s, Yang ventured into the remote regions of northern Shanxi province. What he found there changed everything. Communities of Chinese Catholics practicing their faith despite ongoing oppression, a tiny minority hiding away in the far reaches of the country. He spent 10 years photographing this Catholic community, creating what would become the body of work he made into a book called The Poor in Spirit. But Yang didn't just document these communities, he became part of them. He attended services, shared meals, and witnessed struggles. When you look at his images from this period, you see something remarkable in his composition. Yang consistently places his subjects in their environment, rarely isolating them from their context. His empathy really shows in moments like children lifting a nun's veil to peek underneath, capturing both reverence and humanity in a single frame. His black and white photography strips away distraction, focusing on gesture and expression. The lighting in his church scenes isn't dramatic, it's authentic. He uses available candlelight and natural sources, creating images that feel like prayers themselves rather than staged photographs. In 2005, this work earned him his first Henri Nannen Award. The judges praised the expressiveness and archaic poetry of the black and white exposures. But Yang wasn't finished exploring faith, he was just getting started. After completing his Catholic series, Yang embarked on another decade-long project, this time documenting Tibetan Buddhism. His black and white images document Tibetan people's normal lives, but for me, each image feels on a spiritual level, even as someone who doesn't follow an organised religion. Where his Catholic work often showed intimate indoor scenes and his subjects enveloped by their environment, almost as if in hiding, his Tibetan photography embraced the vast landscapes of the Tibetan plateau, not just as a backdrop, but as another character to his compositions. Sometimes showing tiny human figures against enormous mountain backdrops, highlighting both the grandeur of the environment and the persistence of their faith. And other times, more intimate compositions of a moment up close, but the grand landscape still very much an important context in the frame. One of my favourite images of Yangkang's shows a Tibetan man spreading longda, incantations printed on cloth, at a temple in Aba, Sichuan province. Yang captured the moment mid-action, papers scattered in the wind, creating a sense of movement and spiritual energy that static composition couldn't achieve. Despite unceasing oppression, indoctrination and spying, Yang's photographs show Buddhism alive in Tibet. His camera becomes witness to quiet acts of resistance, people maintaining their beliefs despite the government pushing against them. Yang's approach to documentary photography is a deep and long-term one, looking for a real insight. Where photojournalists sometimes seek dramatic moments and only spend fleeting time in a place or location, Yang finds power in the everyday over a long period of time. His subjects aren't performing for the camera, they're simply living their faith. He shoots exclusively in black and white and on film, and crucially handprints his work. In our digital age, this commitment to traditional darkroom techniques connects his process to his subject matter. Both require patience, dedication, and belief in the outcome. Yang's compositions often favour what photographers call environmental portraiture, showing people in their spaces rather than isolating them. His Catholic church scenes often place worshippers within architecture that tells its own story of persistence, as well as using the environment to highlight the sense of place and geography where the worshippers lived. His Tibetan work also uses the landscape as a co-star, not just as a background, and even his images inside houses and monasteries have a grand, open and inviting feeling. In 2009, Yang became the only Chinese photographer to receive the Henri Nannen Award twice, this time for his Tibetan Buddhist work. At the 7th Guizhou International Photography Festival, his The Reflections of Soul won the jury prize for the Photographer of the Year. The jury said, "The scenes he has captured are full of religious meaning, but they also represent his life philosophy." I would absolutely love a copy of this book, but it's out of print and I've yet to be able to find a copy for sale anywhere online. Yang wasn't just collecting awards, he was building something larger, a comprehensive study of minority faiths in China. While a lot of modern photographers chase trending topics, Yang conducted a decades-long investigation into one of humanity's most fundamental questions. Why do people believe what they believe? I think a responsible documentary photographer should set a certain period of time to get close to his or her targets, Yang explains. In my opinion, this philosophy is something really powerful to explore in how we think about our own photography projects. Where others might spend days, weeks, or maybe months on a story, Yang invested years. This commitment shows in his work. His subjects aren't guarded or performing, they're accepting him completely, allowing access to genuine moments of vulnerability and grace. You can see in his images that his approach is done with intention and respect. After Christianity and Buddhism, from what I can find online, he's now focusing his lens on Chinese Muslims, primarily in Gansu, Ningxia and Qinghai provinces. He's mapping the landscape of human belief in China, one community at a time. Though sadly I'm not really able to confirm or find any of his recent work, it's something to look forward to in the future, I hope. So what motivates this endless exploration? Yang himself provides the answer. His true religion is photography, the faith in light. He's not a religious photographer, he's a photographer of religion. His devotion is to the craft itself, to the belief that we can use cameras to capture something essential about the human spirit. Yang Yankang's career teaches us something profound about patience and purpose in our photography. In our instant everything world, he spent 10 years on Catholics, 10 years on Buddhists, and has now turned his lens to Muslims. This isn't just persistence, it's complete rejection of modern photography's demand for constant novelty. When Yang stood in that freezing church in Shanxi province waiting to understand something deeper about faith, he was really waiting to understand something deeper about himself. Those who know Yang describe him as humble, accessible and humorous, but his work reveals someone wrestling with enormous questions. What gives life meaning? What are people willing to sacrifice for? How do you photograph something as intangible as faith? The answer, Yang discovered, is time. Not the decisive moment a lot of photographers chase, but decisive decades. The commitment to stay with a story long enough to understand it from the inside. That's the strength of Yang Yankang's body of work. In an age of viral images and disposable content, he proves some stories are worth a lifetime. Sometimes the most profound photographs come not from capturing a perfect moment, but from dedicating years to understanding what that moment really means. But how many of us are really prepared and able to focus years onto photography projects? If nothing else, what we can learn from Yang is to look at our own work and not be despondent if we don't see progress in weeks or months. It takes years and decades. If you put in the effort for such a long time, then you'll really collect images that mean something. Yang Yankang shows us that great photography isn't about technical perfection or dramatic timing. It's about genuine connection. It's about finding something that you truly care about, earning the right to witness, and then having the patience to wait for truth to reveal itself, one frame at a time. So this is a new series of videos that I've wanted to make for a long time, and I've finally started to make them for this channel. So if you enjoyed this one, then I'd really like to know what you think in the comments. And also let me know what other photographers you might like to see episodes about in the future as well. And while Yang Yankang spent decades hyper-focused on 2 projects, another photographer spent his whole life documenting multiple projects, covering things like faith and conflict and revolution around the world. So this next video is all about his story.